3, 2, 1, go. It's just recording.
I'm scared.
It's gonna be okay, Nick.
Are you trying to like okay. You're gonna survive.
So if you want a title, we're starting to talk about Z-scores.
What? Okay. That looks much better.
Thanks for your commentary. Here's the formula for it, for Z-score. Here's what it means in words. Here's like what you're finding if you want to write those down. In there somewhere too. Be wise. Be a wise decision. You can try to answer. I'm going to go through them for sure. But if you're like done writing and waiting. So look over the left. That's your sample data. The mu that you think is mean. C represents that's the thing about the same Evan was last week. I was right.
Yeah. I know, like, the other stuff is, like, it's the second one.
Alright. So, we can look at this a couple different ways. We're going to start talking about z-scores. Z-score is how many standard deviations you are away from the mean and what direction. So positive means you're above the mean, negative means you're below the mean. So, like the simple kind of non-statistical, non-in-depth analysis, this would be like, well, wait, I got a 90 here, and I got an 80 here, so obviously I did better on this test. But if I want to know, like, compared to my peers, like, say both of these teachers decided to curve it based on the mean and the standard deviation, then it's a different question. So in this one, the mean was 80. Remember, mean is that mu symbol. Your standard deviation is 10. So 90, 100, 110, I'm just sketching out kind of the whole graph thing we did yesterday. So what that means is his score was here. So that was exactly one standard deviation above the mean, right? If we do a z-score, z is going to be, so you got to kind of learn these letters. This is x bar, that's your sample mean. Well, our sample in this case is only a size of 1. There's just one test in our sample, and that was a 90. The mean was 80, and then this guy down here is sigma, that means standard deviation. Well, what's 90 minus 80 over 10? It's 1, which tells us exactly what this is. We are 1, it's positive, so we're above the mean. We are 1 standard deviation above the mean. We have a z-score of 1. Then we'll eventually get into, okay, what percentile does that put us in? If we found this entire area here, that would tell us the percent of people that we did better. Well, actually, you guys can do that.
Yeah.
What percent of people did that do better than? 84. It's like 84, if you guys remember. So like 80, half of it is below 80, right? And then this one little section right there was 34, do you remember? So that means this person did better than 84%, better or tied, 84% of their classmates. But look at the same thing down here. Now the mean was 70, and my standard deviation is 5. And I got an 80. So now I'm there. So I should have written this up here. This is z equals 1. I should have written it up there. I wrote the z-score. That tells me I'm 1 standard deviation above the mean. So what's my z-score here?
2.
How many standard deviations above the mean am I? It's 2, and I can look at the graph, or I can use the formula. So my x bar in this case is what? That's my sample data. Is the 80. The mean is 70, the standard deviation is 5. So now I'm 2 standard deviations above the mean. And we can find this percent again. You guys don't know how to find it like exactly, but you can get pretty darn close to what we did yesterday. You guys remember what percent? 50% up to 70, right? Half of it's here or lower. What was this little section? 34. So now we're at 84. And then what was this last section? 13.5. So we're at 97.5% there. So, if you just look at the raw score, 90 was better than 80. But if I look at compared to your peers, who actually did better? Or which test did you do better on? You did better on the second one because you're better than almost everybody. And here, you still did really well, but you're not better than the same percent. Yeah.
So, like, if we have one of these on our test,
Yeah.
we have to show work if we give this now.
Yeah. Well, it depends. Is it multiple choice or free response? Multiple choice, so you don't have to show anything, you know. Free response, you're going to want to show basically all of it. That's a lot. Who's lying about how much?
I'm just kidding. It was a joke. Yeah, let's go. Parking lot. 2:15.
I was going to go to high school and hang out and do it like on a Saturday. Alright, you want to go to class and we fight there? I don't know. Alright. Questions on that? Okay, there's one thing you haven't learned yet that will pertain to the next one. If the z-score came out to like, let's say it was over here and z was like negative 1.5 and it wasn't on exactly one of those numbers, we don't know how to find the percent. You haven't learned that yet. You can kind of estimate it, but if it's in the middle, you're not going to be able to know the percent. But I don't need that percent to answer the question, do I? So if you can estimate the percent, go for it, but you don't need to do it. You will need to do it eventually, but I have to teach you how to do it before I tell you need to do it. That seems to make sense. Questions here? So for this question, I would kind of show this work, and I would say test 2, since z-score is higher. Like, that's the real reason. If it was multiple choice and you could just jump to that, great. But if it's free response, you're going to want to show them how you know. Alright?
Whoops. Whoops.
Did I just like close it? Recover for me. There we go.
How many views does your channel have?
I don't know, 4. 1 or 2, I'm hoping. Do that.
Yesterday video sounded like a 5.
You do you. You'll know. So you're not even able to get like a percentile with this one because these don't come out exactly at one of those lines. But you can still ask the question. Find your z-score, make your graph. Like kind of show it to me a couple ways.
So are we supposed to assume that the graphs is normal?
Yeah, so I should be on every one of these saying that we assume they're approximately normal. I didn't say it, I should have, so assume everything here is approximately normal.
You're just gonna say assume everything.
Assume all things.
Like X is always 9. No matter what. It's a good knowledge.
Show me graphs too. graph's wrong.
In the percentiles, do you feel like off points? Or do you like
We'll discuss that when we
nearest,
get to
like whole?
We'll discuss that when we get to percentiles. So your Z should be 1.75 for this. So your 1.75 standard deviation is above the mean. My dotted line's off a little, but it's close. Be more like over there. How many got 1.75 for the first Z score? You gotta have that, okay. On the second one, we'll do over here. So second Z score is 1.5. So who did better? Or first test or second test? First test, because your Z score is higher, you are further away, you're further above the mean. Then we haven't learned how to find percentiles yet, but we will. Questions on this anywhere? Okay. That's probably not very easy for you to see, isn't it? Write that. I don't care if you write this. Like you're gonna see what we're doing in every question. You don't necessarily need to write that part. Just write down this part, and then we're gonna go through some examples because there's really four variables here, right? There's Z, there's your sample, there's the mean, there's standard deviation, and I can leave any one of those blank. In the first two we did, I told you those three, and just asked you to find Z. But really, I could tell you Z and standard deviation and X, and ask you to find mean, or I could tell you Z and mean, or sample and mean, and ask you to find standard. Like I could leave any one of those blank, so I just kind of want to practice each one of those. It's just algebra. And the first one's not even, I think, goofy. It's the same thing we just did, but we'll get there. So we're going to sketch it. Mean is 21. How many of you guys took the ACT? So not really that many. You got a 26. And then I want to know the Z-score that goes with it. So I'm going to go 26 minus 21 over 3, which is 5 over 3, or 1.6 repeating. Z-score would be 1.6 repeating. So that's all I'm looking for. I'm going to give you 3 of the 4 pieces of information and ask you to do all of those things. Graph it, find the Z-score on the graph, find the Z-score here, find whatever's missing. Does that all make sense? That's the same stuff we just did, right? Yeah.
So when you're making the graph,
Yeah.
how many numbers do you want to have?
3 standard deviations each direction. Because that's our like 68, 95, 99.7. Right. What percent of scores are below this? We're going to get into it more specifically, but at least 84%, right? So like there's 50 there, there's 34 more, so that's 84, and then it's somewhere a little above that. just on that. So I think the next one we put on here, we go backwards or different direction. So try this one. I can put my mean on there right away. But everything else, I gotta do a little work to get to. So I'm gonna give you a chance to try it, and then I'll go through it. So what I want is those labels. And I want to, at the end, be able to know what the z-score is, which we know. The sample is, which we don't know. And the mean. So you gotta do some work to find the sample in this one. So I can actually do everything except that right now. So if you just use this formula and plug in what you know, if you can successfully do the algebra, you can find out what x bar is. Might have to redo the algebra. Yes. That does get tougher if the mean is 99.78. But yeah. So you want to know the process too, but that's I didn't do it. Like, when I answered it in my head, I didn't use the formula. So my formula certainly helped me out. I know the z-score is 1.5. I don't know x bar. I know the mean is 100. I know the standard deviation is 15. So that's just an algebra formula, or algebra problem I got to solve. I would put that over 1 and cross multiply, I think, is your, I don't know. How many of you would think that you put it over 1 and cross multiply? How many would think to just multiply both sides by 15?
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, that's the same thing. I mean, it doesn't matter which you're. So let's multiply this side by 15, multiply this side by 15. So this is 22.5. And then here I get x bar minus 100. And then if I just add the 100 to both sides, I get 122.5. So I go up here, write it in there, and I know my z is 1.5. Could you, like, I don't even know, how many of you didn't even use formula? You just kind of looked at it. So I'm hoping more and more people get to that point. And if it's like, if the mean's like 98.357, you're going to need the formula. No one's doing that in your head. But all I did was go, well, standard deviation is 15. The z-score is how many standard deviations there are. So I just did 15 times 1.5 in my head and got 22.5. And then added it to 100. It's the exact same process I did with the algebra. I did 1.5 times 15. And then added it to 100. So, like, some of you guys might be able to get away with doing it in your head, I'm saying, and that's fine. Some of you might need the formula, and that's fine too. It doesn't matter. How many got 122.5? Questions? You don't look thrilled, Emily. You alright? Okay. What? Let's jump ahead to. Try that one. So first of all, what's missing? Mean, right? You have the sample. Your score is the sample. It's a sample of 1, but it's still considered a sample. So you have x bar. We're lacking mu. This one? Yeah,
So I was about to say.
It's Friday the 13th.
Steven's a hacker.
Nice.
Oh,
Watch
how
that.
does that happen?
What if Steven's a ghost and he's haunting us? You find like this list of like videos, of like some math videos, and then like cat.
Steven likes golf too.
Steven does like golf.
You would know it.
Did you see it?
Who doesn't like that at all? Yeah, exactly.
What?
Who doesn't ever?
I've never seen that.
Also,
That's
like,
full good.
Rick and Morty.
First two seasons are amazing. The third one's, I mean, it depends on it.
The first 2 seasons are just awesome.
Yeah, they were just good.
So think about it for a second, because I could very easily see someone messing up your signs here and like flipping something around here. Should the mean be higher or lower than 121?
Lower.
Should be lower, right? We've got a positive z-score, which means we are above the mean. 121 is above the mean, so our score should be lower. Like I could see someone coming out of this with 136 somehow. What I would do there is bring the mu over there, which makes it positive, bring the 15 over there, which makes it negative, and then you get 106. And then once you have that, you can do your standard deviation graph here. So 121 would be like right in the middle. That, I for some reason have all positive z-scores on this. They're not always positive, I just didn't do a good job putting examples that are negative. I hope there's some that I can couple. Yeah,
If we do this on free response, do we have to put up that graph?
yes.
Okay.
Well, no, but you won't get points. So you have a choice.
Like
But
on,
Okay.
Yeah,
Get the
the
full
AP
amount of
test
points.
to get the full amount of points, you gotta put the
like
graph.
on your test, the AP test too.
Both. So I try to grade like the AP test. How many had 106? Questions? Concerns? Thoughts? Alright, here's a negative one. Do that. It's really the same one we just did. Same time, but it's got a negative number for extra fun.
What's your graph? That's one question. Joel, forget this one.
Sounds like a half circle. Circle. Oh yeah, we need graphs. Yeah, how am I supposed to make fun of your graph? You don't have a graph on your brain. That's it? Yeah. That's something you came up with? Much better. He's got scoop.
No.
It's better than it.
I'm sorry.
Would you like to give me a template of this?
It doesn't matter. I just like to point it out. Give me something to do. Oh wait, this is not the right word. Don't look at that. That's from the previous problem.
I think you need a hobby.
What hobby would you like me to have while I'm walking around waiting for your bozos to finish your work?
You build a birdhouse. You know what? You
You
know
can go
what?
golfing.
birdhouses?
Hey,
You
you
can
know
go
what?
golfing.
Done.
Zuki has the nice little vacuum.
I just did it. What else do you
Nice
want?
sweeper thing. that I was trying to- They make one. You need one of the little sweepers.
I'll take you out
Walk
in this
around
day.
with
What?
Like the little like sweeper thing.
To pick up dirt on the floor?
Yeah.
He does that like while you guys are in class?
Yeah.
It's like a
We
little
are
feeder.
Yeah.
It's like,
You already
you
won't get enough room in there.
So gross.
Self-deprecation.
Yeah.
I can get one of those robotic ones that just goes around and
Yeah.
vacuums everywhere.
During the test, just let it go.
Alright, so, just to make sure we can handle it when z is negative. mean? So
really
I
even.
can't put that yet. Quiet, please. So I know this. I know Z is -2. My score was 50. Should the mean be higher or lower than my score? Should be higher, right? Because I'm a negative standard deviation. So I'm below. So the mean should be higher. So I multiply by 20. -40 equals 50 minus mu. And I'm just basically going to flip-flop these two. And it would tell me mu equals 90. And then I can do my graph from there. So I had a z-score of -2, which was right there. What percent of scores are below that z-score of -2? 2.5, right?
Wow.
How many had that?
Were you testing us on that today?
Questions? Testing you on what?
I thought you said we were gonna like try and see if we could build like with the percentages.
Why would you even remind him
I did it in 5th hour and it was like super easy. So
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think it's that hard. And it's not like it was a test grade, so I don't know why you're freaked out about it. She does it when she did homework though. She likes to put people on blast when she does it.
Why are we going on me? Everyone agreed that college is your goal.
Do that one.
I'm ready.
Do you have more paper?
Yeah, but I like to keep it all on one piece.
So we can't learn anymore because you're almost done with the paper.
I don't understand why so much paper.
Okay, we have to stop learning material because people can't turn the page. Is what you're telling me?
no.
That's a whole piece of paper.
Well then, I'll just keep going, so we'll use that whole sheet too.
Well, I mean,
Okay, fine, but you better make it even. This is bottom. This has to be.
You give someone one and I do like
You're the problem, shut up! So what's missing here? Standard deviation, right? And when the numbers are simple, simple is the wrong word. Oh, it's like feel bad if you can't do it in your head. When the numbers are 5, 10, like they're reasonable numbers. Some of you might be able to do this in your head. If you can give me the z-score in your head, that shows me you understand what's going on and how it works. I don't have any problem with that. If it's free response, you still got to show your work, but like practicing doing your head just kind of reinforces the concept of what we're doing. So the z-score can be as high as you want. You got 6. Wait, the z-score I gave you.
Or not the z-score, standard deviation.
Yeah, do whatever. Which means the average point is 6 away from the mean.
They get 6.
What you got? That's fine. That's like reasonable. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Okay, so there's one little trick I want to show you here too. So I know the z-score is 0.5. My height is 75 minus 70 over sigma. So I don't know if you guys like know this algebra trick, but let's say I had like 6 equals 12 over x. What's x? 12 divided by what gives me 6? It's 2, right? So there's this trick that says you can flip-flop those because wouldn't that still give me x equals 2? So you can apply that trick here. You don't have to. If you want to multiply both sides by sigma and then like do algebra, that's fine. But there's that trick where you can switch these and say sigma equals 75 minus 70 over 0.5. And then that it comes out to 10. It's just a little shorter. I don't even. Did you guys know that already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's. If you did, cool. If you didn't, that's fine.
Is the average height actually like 5'10"?
Oh, I have no idea. These are made up numbers.
The
Don't-
10 does seem pretty
It
reasonable.
seems reasonable, but I don't know. So 75 is here, and my z-score is 0.5. Questions there? How many had that? How many had, like, everything on here correct? You guys okay? Emily? I'm not, like, saying stop talking. Say it right, okay? So you know where you're going. Alright. Alright, no, you guys do it. Take everything off your desk, get a mark. I just want to see if you can do it.
Wait, is that only my little?
Yeah.
Already have
Yeah.
one.
Put everything away.
What about my first snack? Are those okay?
As long as your fruit stacks don't have normal curved information on them, you're good.
Stacks.
Whatever.
I think it's that fruit stacks. As long as your fruit stacks don't.
They're actually not bad.
Wait, what?
What a key is here. I know that
I talked to him about it, I told him. I don't know, a couple days later.
actually I told him like the day after.
So try to make that the normal curve with like the 34 and the 13.5 and all that. Try and put everything over. This is totally separate. Right? Try to make the normal curve when you just stand the board. Where you go, what do you need to look at the board for?
Oh.
Here's the words coming out of my mouth. This sheet of paper is your homework. It has nothing to do with what you're writing on your tests right now.
Dude.
Yours is like. It's supposed to be?
The spacing is trash.
I
That's why those girls said nice.
Julia, you might be focusing on the wrong thing here. Not sure, but it just seems like you're spending a lot of time
Probably, yes.
on the word mute. The numbers that go in those little sections, are they values or percents? Percents. Percents need a percent sign. What is that? Hey! There. I mean, I'm not saying it's not beautiful. It's just not normal.
That group's got problems.
So the three numbers, remember, 68 is within 1 standard deviation, 1% within 2 standard deviations. 95, and then within 3, 99.7.
Compared with a neighbor.
Sun signs, man.
They didn't really have enough space in their where I but the percent signs are there.
Alright. That's how you get, that wasn't hard, right?
No.
You got there fast. Yeah. The number there is the way you said the word condescending. Condescending. My son can't say the word accident.
How's he say?
Excellent.
Hey, let's do my
I think like he's 7. He came home and he said people were making fun of the way he said it. I mean, if you want to be as good as Sizemore, yeah.
I don't know how to figure out how wait, we're supposed to
Compensation.
You guys are all set. Hold on, stop.
Everybody else is crying.
Stop. Wow, it got loud in here. I'm done. We have nothing else for you. Make sure you finish that homework though. So I'll come around. And remember the retake thing. Everybody has a chance to retake no matter what score you get, but you gotta have all your homework in. So Monday's your first like real homework, you know. Make sure you have the drawings, make sure when I come around everything's complete on that.
Wait, I have the owls.
Questions?
The owl's house over there. Wait,
They won't.
you get North Owl.
Okay.
You said you gotta like kind of like perfect.
You said you need drawing, I said here. And then you said straight up like normal. Oh, they got it. See how they If your marker's dead, then you grab the dead marker and just throw it away. Also, Christmas gifts, because I know you guys are all going to get me a Christmas present, right?
Yeah.
Buy me markers.
Hey, you know who sells markers?
He's
Go
all
to office? Probably.
Okay, David, I was actually planning on doing that anyway, but then I saw your red flag in the market, so I was like,
Young boy steals
They're
markers
going
from
really
the
fast.
okay, so definitely buy me markers. You get markers, Patrick gets markers.
Mr. Davis.
Yeah, because Patrick complained to August last time that they didn't have the budget to get him markers every year, so we had to buy his own, and ever since we bought him a bunch of markers every year. Since Grace and I are both in his classes this year, Grace got markers at the beginning of the year. I'm gonna get him some too. Don't worry, she's nothing like me.
Davis.
She's not. I can vouch. She's not like that.
Okay, yes, she does her work, but she's very, very anxious. Like, she will be the person that will talk low A's, or like low A's, high B's, and she'll want to retake it.
Okay.
Like, she wants to take it.
I was gonna give you like an actual like